Hey, it's Greg, Kentucky's Heartland at kentuckysheartland.com, and we're on location today at Hardin Memorial Health. With me is my friend, President and CEO Dennis Johnson. Good to see you, Dennis.
Good to see you, Greg.
Now, I got to say this because people might not recognize us with our shirts on. Because usually when you and I do an interview together, we have our shirts off. So you want to go that route, or are we just going to keep our shirts on?
Let's keep them on. You know, that's your fault. Mm-hmm. And that was the very first exposure that I had to Hardin County when I came here 9 years ago. So exposure.
And you didn't run off either. Yeah. That's for those that maybe have never heard the story. Is they had the new pool?
Yes.
At the
therapy pool,
the
Whitman
therapy
Road.
Pool.
Yep.
And they wanted me to do a radio interview with him, and I'd never met Dennis. And I walk out of the locker room in my swim trunks, and I thought I was somewhat cut, but I wasn't. And then here comes this golden tanned boy from Alabama with his pecs and his abs in the pool, and it went downhill from there, didn't it?
Yeah, and you beat me, and we were on the treadmill, and he's interviewing me, and I can't, I'm about to have a heart attack while I'm running and trying to talk at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt, but I just wasn't going to stop. So, but who would have thought 9 years later, that you would actually still talk to me? That's what's great about it. So, I want to talk about the hospital and want to talk about what's going on. And as we're kind of into this point now that we're getting ready for a sale, why was it a good idea to sell the hospital?
Yeah, I get that question everywhere. It's going to be a long-winded answer to that short question. Some of the best years Hardin Memorial Hospital have been in the last 9 or 10 years out of our 66-year history. And that's been wonderful. It's been the accomplishment of a horde of people, physicians, nurses, executives, other staff, board members, foundation board members, all working together toward a common cause and a common goal and purpose. And we've been so blessed over the past 10 years. So some of the best years that we've had throughout our history have been recently. But I'm going to quote Mike Bowers, who's on our foundation board. Mm-hmm. Mike said it eloquently. Hardin Memorial is like a privately held corporation that's growing so fast that in order to maintain and even accelerate the growth, we've got to go public because we need access to capital. That is the biggest need that Hardin Memorial has. We cannot generate the capital investments that we need to sustain that growth and even accelerate that growth throughout the 10 counties that we serve. And that's reason number one. There's our secondary reasons too. Baptist and Hardin have had an affiliation for 23 years. For 23 years, Baptist has managed Hardin. And while that's been a loose affiliation, we have very similar values. Faith-based values of putting God and the patient and the family at the forefront. And it just makes perfectly good sense for these organizations to come together in a formal fashion. Baptist is the largest health system in the Commonwealth. We have hospitals, 9 hospitals all over, from Paducah to Corbin, Louisville, Lexington, even into southern Indiana. And it just makes a good sense. It's going to, with us becoming Baptist Health Hardin, yes, it's going to help Baptist. It's also going to help Hardin tremendously. And it will be better for the 400,000 folks that we serve.
All right, and I hear this question all the time because I'm the median guy. I always say if I'm I-65, I'm not northbound or southbound, I'm the median.
Right.
So a lot of people that are for something and against something talk to me about it. And the one thing that I hear is that Hardin Memorial is going to be a Bandaid Hospital.
Yeah.
So explain why that is not true.
I love to answer this question, and I do get that a lot. I get it less now than in the early days. Hardin Memorial, there are 123 hospitals in our Commonwealth. Hardin Memorial is one of the top 10 largest hospitals out of those 123 hospitals in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We are not and will not be, we have not been nor will we be a Bandaid hospital to anywhere else. In fact, the mission of Baptist will be to try, healthcare is a local phenomenon, Greg. So the mission of Baptist is going to be to make investments right here in central Kentucky where patients can get care close to home. We don't want folks going to Louisville or Lexington or out of state for health care. We want them to receive care right here. Now, that we can't do everything right here, and there will be times for tertiary or quaternary services where we may have to send a patient to Louisville for a service that we just don't provide. But there is no plan whatsoever. The plan is to expand services here, not to consolidate services.
Matter of fact, I read an article, a business article from Louisville that talks about the plan that Baptist has in the near future with some services and things in the community, which is very encouraging, very exciting. So where are we now? I mean, you've been here, what'd you say, 9 years? Oh my gosh.
And that's crazy.
You've been here 9 years, and I know this is the part that you never really like because you like to divert things away from you. But you have been a very integral part in what the advancement at Hardin Memorial. So where are we now as far as healthcare goes? Here.
So we've got a phenomenal team. I'll tell you, this team of people here, we have the best executive team of any hospital in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and that team just works tirelessly and passionately for the patients and the families, and for the hospital, for our 3,000, almost 3,000 member team here. Hardin is growing. We have really doubled the hospital in the past 9 or 10 years. We now have 50 off-campus locations scattered throughout central Kentucky. The medical staff, we've gone from, just a little over 200 to now north of 500 members of the medical staff. It's been exciting. We've dramatically improved quality of care and programmatic services offered. For example, our comprehensive breast cancer program is really a model program and one of the best in the country. So it's been exciting. So where we are now, we have kind of this partnering with Baptist, the acquisition of Baptist, the assimilation of Baptist. Of Hardin into Baptist will enable us to provide investments that will be able to enable Hardin to even grow even more. We are out of space in physical space in many of our services. For example, the operating room, the operating suites, our endoscopy suites, we are literally out of space. We are planning for a major ambulatory center that will be right here on campus to the west side across Woodland, the old Woodland Avenue. That will be a major center housing medical offices, new operating rooms, new endoscopy suites. It will house a new cancer center, which we desperately need. And it's exciting. And then Baptist will also be helping us make investments across some of the other counties as well. Hang on to your hats, Central Kentucky, because it's going to be a fun ride the next few years. Baptist is committed, by the way, to spend $150 million in the first 5 years and another $80 million in the next 5 years. So that's a significant investment, not only to improve the health and health care of residents in central Kentucky, but Greg, it will also be a major economic development initiative that will be the rising tide that I think will float a lot of ships in central Kentucky.
You mentioned hang on. When you're driving down the Dixie now, you almost have to hang on because of potholes. But as you're diverting your attention away from potholes, you look over at the campus at Hardin Memorial, and there has been a lot of landscape changes that are going on here. And I know the Heartland people want to know when they see all these changes going on, what are some of the things that they're seeing around the area as we see houses are coming down. What's going on there?
Yeah, so in addition to the improvements of Cardinal Drive, which is, in how Cardinal intersects into Dixie Highway, we're also planning for developments on our west side of campus. So Hardin Memorial over the past several years has purchased several of the independent residences along Cardinal Drive and to the west of the old Woodland Avenue. And we are in the process of demolishing those buildings to prepare for this new ambulatory building, which will be a major ambulatory facility that will house medical offices and operating rooms and endoscopy suites, among other things. It will be connected physically to the hospital. It will house a cancer center as well. And so what folks are seeing are the very beginning stages of preparations for that ambulatory center and that cancer center. And these are investments that we would not be able to make if we were not becoming a part of Baptist. So we're grateful to our Baptist Health partners for their acquisition of Hardin.
All right, so you're talking about all these new buildings going up all around here, and so I'm going to ask a tough question.
Okay.
Parking. We've got a parking
Yes,
garage
sir.
out here. Are we going to expand the parking garage? Or are we going to have helicopter rides in the Hardin Memorial? What's the plan?
Well, if you're coming to the hospital, Greg, you call me and I'll park your car. I'll serve as a personal valet for you.
I'm going to hold him to that. Because I got a big truck and it's not easy to park anywhere.
That's
so
all right.
How do you take care of that?
No, it's a really good question. And parking is one of in fact, it's probably our biggest complaint right now because of all the construction. And we've had, it will continue to be a problem during the construction over the next 2 or 3 years. We've got, the current plan is to not expand the parking structure, which is a 3-level parking structure. We do have the ability to expand that if should the need arise, but we will have plenty of surface parking, mainly across Woodland and on the kind of the northwest side of campus. We did lose a lot of parking space, surface parking, when they made the improvements to Cardinal Drive into Dixie on the south side. But the plan is to have plenty of surface parking. We will have our employees park along the outer fringes to reserve those closer in spaces for patients and family members. So that is the plan, and I will apologize to the public for the near term, because while we're under construction over the next couple of years, it's going to be a little tight and shifting, and we are looking at alternatives that we might be able to implement in a interim situation to make it less onerous for patients and families. But the long-term plan is we will have plenty of surface parking. So.
And I know for folks that maybe come to the emergency department, I know there's been a conscious effort. We've got the urgent care center itself, but there's also going to be another location of that.
Yes.
Is that designed so you can actually help facilitate
Yes, sir.
moving people?
So I think many folks know this. I know you know this, Greg. We have the largest emergency department in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And so, we're constantly striving for ways that we can not only accommodate that volume, but really try to educate the public to use more appropriate venues for care, either their primary care physician's office, if it's not an emergency, or to go to an urgent care. We have 2 very busy urgent cares existing, but we are planning for a new urgent care at the intersection of Mulberry or Main Street and Ring Road, closer to the interstate. And we hope that facility will be open in March. We're excited about that. A lot of the younger folks, the 30-somethings and the 20-somethings, don't like to use a primary care physician. They like to use urgent care. Urgent care, we're kind of saying, kind of the buzzword now in our industry is urgent care is becoming primary care for the younger, the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings. And so we're trying to meet a need for that population of patients. Urgent cares are more convenient for everyone, but especially for those folks.
All right, so one more question here. So around the region, actually 2 more questions. Around the region, there's 10 counties we talk about, and we focus so much on Hardin County.
Right.
But we have a lot of folks in the Heartland that live in these other counties.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the improvements they're seeing in other counties?
Great question. And the probably the single biggest answer to that is improved access to primary care. We want primary care physicians and APCs. APCs is a fancy acronym for nurse practitioners or physician assistants. We want those folks out near the customers that they serve. You don't want a bunch of primary care physicians loaded up at 913 North Dixie, the main branch, if you will. We want them out in the counties. We want primary care access. We want to make primary care access easy for any of those 400,000 folks that we serve throughout Central Kentucky. That's the biggest single improvement that we've made. But we're also making, in Bardstown, for example, we just opened a year and a half ago a large ambulatory facility there where we do have primary care, large primary care practice, but we also have a number of specialists that have a clinic once a week, an array of different specialties. We have a very busy imaging center there. We have laboratory services there. We have rehab services there. And we've got the ability to even expand that even more. We've made expansions up in Brandenburg. So we're always looking for opportunities to make investments in access and program to better provide patient care closer to home for those people.
Okay. All right, so 10 years from now, I'm going to pull back this video, and I'm going to watch this video.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to see how good you are at this point.
Okay.
So no pressure here.
There you go.
All right. So what do you see 10 years from now in the future? What do you see with this location and with Hardin Memorial?
Yes, I think the healthcare is undergoing a dramatic change, and whereas before healthcare was very venue, you went to the main hospital. In fact, not only did you go to the main hospital, you went to the main hospital and you may have had a procedure and you stayed in the hospital for a week at a time. Mm-hmm. So many things are becoming outpatients. Outpatient surgeries now, inpatient surgeries that you would stay 4 or 5 nights in the hospital are now done on an outpatient basis. We're doing outpatient hips, for example, which is amazing. We would have never have thought that a decade ago. So a lot will be done via telemedicine. So you won't even you could potentially even stay in your own living room in your house, but you will be connected to a Baptist Health Hardin provider, and wherever that provider is. It could be a primary care physician, it could be a specialist, and even over a device like an iPhone, they could make a diagnosis and treatment. So you're going to see that. You're going to continue to see advances in medicine in minimally invasive surgeries that are outpatient instead of inpatient. Continued advances in cancer care. Unfortunately, Kentucky, we have a lot of need because we have a lot of cancer. Cigarette smoking and obesity are 2 of our biggest issues. Hopefully in the future, mm-hmm. you will see a lot less smoking in Kentucky, and we can bend the curve on cancer and cardiovascular disease. You're going to see a lot more preventative and educational efforts on the part of Baptist Health throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky to educate people to prevent some of the cancers and cardiovascular disease that we see that's all too prevalent in our Commonwealth. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens, the advances in medicine and what happens here in Central Kentucky.
Yeah, I never thought we would be watching videos on our phones and
exactly.
all that stuff. So I'm not going to second guess any of your decisions in what you just said. But thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
The original idea was maybe for you and I to go take a run, but this interview would have been a lot shorter, and so I wouldn't have got as many details out from either one of us.
We still need to run, but not on the underwater. But Greg, I want to thank you for what you have done for this community for a couple of decades. You have given passionately of your time, talent, and treasure. You're the only person I know that can be in 3 places at the same time.
I see what you're doing right now. You're doing that dentist thing. I'm going to start calling it the dentist thing. You're diverting off of yourself. But congratulations.
Thanks, man.
And we are so honored and excited to have you and your family in this community, because you're not just a part of the hospital itself. You are ingrained in the community and a lot of different stuff. So we appreciate you guys being great citizens in our community.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Dennis Johnson, CEO, President, Hardin Memorial Health. I'm Greg Milby, Community Storyteller, and this is Kentucky's Heartland.